Hi everybody, welcome to the house of Trevor Salmon. I'm here in Abergele and I've known Trevor since I became a Christian many years ago, and I've known Trevor to be a faithful servant. He pastored the church for a couple of years, and it's been a real pleasure to see Trevor's commitment and long-standing service of the Lord and the Lord's people as well here in North Wales. So we just thought it'd be great to interview Trevor, who had graciously emailed us his testimony, but we thought it'd be great to record that so that people would know what God has been so good to you for so many years. So Trevor, please share with the people at home or anybody watching on YouTube how you came to faith, or anything else you'd like to share.
Oh, thank you. Yes, wonderful opportunity. Yeah. Well, I grew up during the Second World War, and I was born 3 years before war broke out. And I grew up during the war, so of course I have clear memories really of during the Second World War, memories of hours spent down the air raid shelter, oftentimes all night, and I can remember walking down through Southampton, my hometown, down through the high street, one of the nights after the Blitz, and stepping over rubble, journey buildings knocked down, and there was a wonderful example during the war. I felt the way that the Lord looks after you. I wasn't thinking much about the Lord then, as a lad. Then I was quite young. But one of the verses that I always like to quote on these occasions is from the Psalms, and it's Psalm 31. That lovely verse there, the psalmist says, "My times are in your hands," and I firmly believe that God's got his hand over us, Mm-hmm. And my gran, who was the matriarch in the house where we all lived, she'd been looking at another house down the road just from us, because we rented houses in those days. And she was going to take this house on, And to cut a long story short, she looked at it, and there was something wrong with it. She didn't like it very much, so we didn't take it. And a few nights later, that house had a direct hit. Wow. And everyone was killed, So the Lord's very good, isn't he? So anyway, I grew up during the war, and the war finished, and I found myself a teenager and at school, a large boys' grammar school, all boys, 400 odd boys. And it was a Catholic school, actually, but we were not pressurized. We were left to our own thing. And if we wished to attend meetings, we could. But we weren't obliged to, kind of thing, And life went on, and those were the days when if a relative came to stay on holiday, they didn't come for a week. They come for 5 or 6 weeks, you know what I mean? And well, they used to in those days. And my gran, I should explain that the household was, my gran was the matriarch, and her husband, my grandfather, he was still working at 72. And then there was my mum and my dad. My dad wasn't there all the time because he was always roaming around trying to find work in the country, And then my mum's brother, who was a bachelor, who was a great guy, he was very kind to me. But we were, my grand's cousin from Belfast came over for 6 weeks. And this lady was a Christian. Mm-hmm. Well, nobody in our house bothered about Christianity or church or anything else, really. And so I wasn't sort of persuaded. And of course, Auntie Maggie, as her name was, wanted to go to church. Mm-hmm. Well, there was nobody in the house that would go to church with her, you see. So I always think that my Christian life really partly was based on being a gentleman, because nobody'd go with this poor woman, and so I felt sorry for her. And I said to her, "Auntie Maggie, I'll come with you." So we went to a free evangelical church based on the Brethren movement, a free evangelical church down in Southampton. And I went with Auntie Maggie every week while she was there. But after she went home, I continued to go. I continued to go to this church, and it was a very relaxed church. It was lovely, really, a very lovely church family. And to cut the story short, I was there for a while after Auntie Maggie went back, and then in 1952, July the 27th, came the night when I decided that I would take Jesus on board, and I would take his offer of forgiveness and salvation.